Recording. Go, 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 go.
I think you could determine if it's working without yelling at the mic.
It's more fun to yell at it, Sam.
Can't argue with that.
I wanted to see the little spikes.
Well, we all have to get our small pleasures where we can.
Everybody, and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Danielle.
I'm Sam.
And this is the podcast where one of us explains a weird piece of media to the other who has no experience with it.
Yes, Danielle, that's me. An experience like a brand new t-shirt you have to throw into the wash before you wear it.
Yes, exactly like that. Do you have the new t-shirt smell, Sam?
No, that's why you gotta wash me, Danielle. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well... Anyway, what Sam doesn't know today is that I'm going to do a book.
Oh, okay, a book. A book on Book Retorts? I never.
I mean, we hit some movies sometimes.
Is the book called, perchance, Endymion?
It's really not.
Okay, well, that's the next Hyperion book, so I was just seeing if you're getting ahead of me.
Is it really?
Yeah.
How messed up would it have been if I decided just to jump ahead to the third Hyperion book to mess with you?
I was really hoping. That'd be amazing. You're like, I'm going to take this curse, and I'm going to own it.
Just to mess with you. All right. No, what we're doing... Yeah, well, I'm not going to do that. Though you probably don't remember it well enough, so I could probably do that.
All right. Well, what is this amazing mystery book that is not a Dan Simmons novel, Danielle?
Okay, I don't know if it's an amazing mystery book, but it is a book that is more in my genre than yours. And it is a 1990s book by Carolyn B. Cooney called The Face on the Milk Carton.
Okay. Let me just take a stab at this one, Danielle. Just knowing the title.
Uh-huh.
It's about a face on a milk carton.
Good job.
Is it about... Oh, I think I have some vague recollection of, like, it feels like a Lifetime movie kind of thing.
Sure. I mean, that was Carolyn B. Cooney, sure.
I have no idea. I mean, I may be confused with, like, maybe some other kind of gag. Wasn't it like somebody who sees their face on milk cartons, like, realize they've been kidnapped or something?
Absolutely. Do you remember in the 90s, Sam, that there used to be faces on milk cartons of kidnapped children?
Yes, this is what I remember. That's literally everything I know about this book is that
Perfect.
It's about...
It's a pretty well-known book. It was very famous in the 90s.
Definitely
read it in the 90s.
Nope.
Sam hasn't read anything from the 90s.
Not true. I read a lot of things from the 90s that were just not what you would reading, Danielle.
But The Face on the Milk Carton is actually the first part of, I think it's a 4-part series.
It's a quadrology?
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm going to do the other ones. We'll see how it goes. But I feel like the first one, it's absolutely not a standalone. It does end on a little bit of a cliffhanger, but I feel like it's weird enough to suffice. So
you're going to leave me on a cliffhanger, Danielle.
Yes.
Ooh, it better be a cliffhanger that doesn't leave me wanting more.
Yes, that's not what cliffhangers do at all.
I'm just saying, Danielle. We'll see. Don't make me angry.
I enjoy doing, like, the first parts of things for you, Sam.
We're just saying, Danielle, in so many words, you have no follow-through.
Yeah,
you have not the stamina to do 25 episodes of Hyperion.
Well, you'll see how you feel about this at the end. If you really want to know what happens in the next one, I'm happy to continue on in the series. They're all weird.
I mean, I take it back. You'd have the stamina to do, like, 35 crab books if you had the option. So I
absolutely would.
Yeah, so, I take it back. I'm sorry.
Do you feel like you want a summary for this book, or do you just got... That was pretty much the gist of the summary, Sam.
No, I want to see what one sentence summary you managed to dig up for me, Danielle.
I didn't. I almost did, because there is a movie version of this. I almost just did an IMDb.
That's where I think I know
line.
it from. I don't know it from the book. I know it from the movie. That's why I had an image in my head.
Right, and so I actually took the book summary, but it doesn't really tell you that much more. I can send it to you.
Yeah, Dan, I feel like I don't want to deprive you of me having to read this, whatever weird stanzas you have curated for me on this book.
Well, there you go.
No one ever really paid close attention to the faces of the missing children on the milk cartons, so I guess they failed at their entire purpose.
Aww. I'm sure that's not true. Everybody glances at them. I wonder what the success rate was for milk cartons.
Probably not great. Then if it was such a successful program, I guess they would keep doing it, is my point.
Well, we don't have milk cartons anymore, really.
What do you think milk comes in? Bags? That's Canada.
They're like plastic. They don't have pictures and stuff. I guess I could put pictures on
They
them.
still
I wonder
have
why this have it.
cardboard milk cartons? What are you talking about?
After this, I will Google the history of kidnapped children on milk cartons. Anyway, please continue.
I'm just saying, like,
listeners.
oat milk, almond milk, those all come in cartons. Like, there are even more milk cartons and different kinds of milk.
Just on the soy milk cartons, we'll have kidnapped children.
oh no. I'm just saying, Amber Alert's way better.
Yeah, way better.
Although they don't give you a picture. So I guess that is one failing. They should include pictures in Amber Alerts. I just thought of that. Anyway, get on that.
Their text messages, they could.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like it'd be a great idea. Why don't we ever... okay, we're getting off track here. This is not the Sam and Danielle complaining about society's ills.
We're one sentence into the summary. Just keep going.
Look, I think this character was named by Stan Lee, because it says, but as Janie Johnson, friend of J. Jonah Jameson, glance Peter Parker, glance at the face of the ordinary little girl with her hair in tight pigtails wearing a dress with a narrow white collar, a 3-year-old who had been kidnapped 12 years before from a shopping mall in New Jersey. Of course, it's Jersey. I'm obligated to say that. She felt overcome with shock. She recognized the little girl. It was she. Herself?
I didn't think it was wrong until you said it out loud, and then I was like, wait a minute.
I mean, it might not, it might be grammatically correct, but it doesn't sound right. And as we all know, language is supposed to be whatever the communication style of the native speakers is correct, not whatever arbitrary grammar rules people try to pull from Latin.
Well, maybe in 1990, this was like the thing.
It was she. How could it possibly be true? Janie can't believe that her loving parents kidnapped her, but as she begins to piece things together, like that she doesn't look like them at all, nothing makes sense. Something is terribly wrong. Are Mr. and Mrs. Johnson really her... Does she call him Mr. and Mrs. Johnson? Because that's clue number 1.
No.
And if not, who is Janie Johnson?
Well, we'll find out on the face on the milk carton. All right. Ready? Are you ready for this,
Danielle, Sam? I'm so excited to hear how Janie Johnson deals with her milk carton-induced existential crisis.
Perfect. Well, before we get to the milk carton,
no!
Janie Johnson is 15 years old, and she just started driving lessons. And she hates her name, which is convenient, because as you said, probably not her real name anyway.
Does she hate it because it's like the double J?
She hates it because it's so, like, benign. Jane Johnson is her name, and she just thinks it's everybody, all her friends have cooler names than her.
So wait, is her full name Janie?
No, I think her name is Jane, and she goes by Janie.
Okay. I mean, she'd go by JJ.
She could do a lot of things. She doesn't. Instead, she just spells it weirdly on all the papers that she turns in for class.
You mean the
She adds a
IE?
Y, and she changes her last name sometimes, which isn't even a thing, but that's okay.
That's a good way to really annoy your teachers, trust me.
So at least she keeps within the ballpark, so I'm sure her teachers know it's her.
Yeah, I guess, but I'd be like, oh, the person who can't figure out how to spell their own name, probably not a good start to their academic career.
It's not at all. And hilariously, she's lactose intolerant, so she doesn't even drink milk.
Is she? I mean, if I were her parents, I knew that the faces on the milk cartons were a thing. I'd be like, oh, we're a family of lactose intolerant people. We can't have milk cartons. Sorry. Even though, like,
No.
we're probably not.
Well, and we'll get into this.
Okay.
So she's lactose intolerant. She hates being lactose intolerant because she loves milk and oh my God, there's like 2 pages of her complaining that she can't drink milk with her peanut butter sandwich. I swear to God.
Okay, first off, Janie, if you want to be less boring, don't worry about your name. Change up your eating habits. Milk and peanut butter sandwiches? Come on.
So at lunch at school that day, all her friends get milk because this is back in 1990 where they still handed out those little milk cartons with your trays of food that you got through the hot lunch line.
Yeah, I remember that when they still gave out food to children.
Right. And they play a game of who's been kidnapped this time, which is literally what they're doing.
Children, they're the greatest. They're our future. I guess from the 90s, they're our present. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. That explains something.
Yeah.
So the local dairy puts a kidnapped children's pictures on the back of the milk carton, and they are discussing how, generally speaking, these aren't actually like kidnapped children. They're kidnapped by a parent. Like there's a divorce or something going on where one parent takes the kid away. And then, obviously...
Wait, who decides what child gets put on the cartons? A.
Okay,
like,
I don't think that the kids know this for sure. This is just like, well, I heard that they're just divorced kids. Like,
sure.
One parent took them.
But I was wondering, like, if the local dairy farm is deciding, like, oh, well, do they ever just mail their photos? Like, hey, dairy farm, please put my child's face on your milk cartons? Like, there's got to be some kind of governing body that organizes this.
Oh, sure. I imagine they just can't be like local children or something because they don't live in New Jersey. And as we've already established from the summary, she was supposedly kidnapped from New Jersey.
That's even less useful. Why would, like, if I'm in, I don't know, Montana, and I'm seeing some picture of a girl who's kidnapped in New Jersey, I'm like, nope, never going to see her.
I don't know. I just think it was a national thing, and maybe they went across state lines. Maybe it was regional. I don't know, Sam. I did not look up the history of kidnapped children on milk cartons.
Why don't you bring me the kidnapped children on milk cartons program and not come prepared for a detailed interrogation of its inner workings?
I'll be honest, I meant to look this up, but I did this several days ago, and I got tired, and then I stopped, and I was like, I'll come back to it and look something up. I never did. So, moving on.
You know what? That's a fair answer, Danielle. I can't argue with that.
Why haven't you looked up anything about John Keats?
Oh, because I know you will, and I enjoy that.
All right. She decides against common sense and steals her friend's milk to drink some of it with her peanut butter sandwich.
Because she really wants the farts.
She really wants them.
Does she bring her own peanut butter sandwich, or are they giving them out in school? Because
I think she has her own.
I mean, I have nothing against a peanut butter or toast or peanut butter sandwich. They're fine, but if that's like, oh, my favorite food is a peanut butter sandwich, I'd be like, you need better food.
I ate a lot of peanut butter sandwiches when I was young at school.
Sure, they're a good staple, but I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm so excited for my peanut butter sandwich. I'm like, that's a peanut butter sandwich. It's fine.
She likes peanut butter, and she really wants some milk with it. But when she grabs milk carton, obviously she catches sight of the kid on the box, and it's a little girl with pigtails and a polka dot dress. And she has a sudden, vivid recollection of the dress.
Do you think you would recognize yourself from when you were 3?
I mean, I've seen a lot of kid pictures, so maybe I'm not sure I'd, like, notice a small little photo on the back of a milk carton.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, I wouldn't be like, pick up a milk carton, there's a photo of me on, and be like, suddenly have this jolt of recognition.
Yeah, and we'll get into this later, because there are no children's photograph of her, no, like, baby photos of her in her parents' house. And so I don't even, like, why would you even know what you looked like when
That's
you were
what I'm getting
3?
at. Like,
like, you haven't seen photos of yourself. Like, I know what I look like when I was little because I've seen photos of myself.
I'm not saying people don't look similar when they're children to when they're grown up. I can say, oh yeah, that's definitely, like, I can see the resemblance. But people can also change quite a bit, especially around that age.
Well, apparently she just has this shocking moment where she realizes she's on the back of this milk carton, supposedly. And she tells her friends, like, immediately. She's like, this is me. And her friends think she's kidding because, I don't know, they're terrible and she doesn't press the issue.
I mean, these children all sound terrible. We're making fun of kidnapped children. Like, these are not your best children.
I don't know if they were making fun of them, but they definitely were, like, unconcerned. So they think she's, like, trying to get out of class or something. One of the kids says, you were stolen 10 years ago from a shopping center, Janie. What are you even doing here? And they all just kind of laugh it off.
Oh, ha, 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 kidnapping.
Yep. So with severe detachment, she finishes the rest of the school day, and she's picked up by her friend Reeve, who goes to the same school. And he lives next door to her. He's not doing super well in school, and he might be held back for a year, and his family gives him a really hard time about it, so he spends a lot of time at Janie's. Aw,
poor Reeve.
I know. They make his parents sound like, or his, like, family sound really terrible, and you meet his family later. They're not that bad.
Well, I mean, to be fair, every teenager thinks their family is terrible. Like, oh, my parents are always on my case, man.
Yep. So they go to the riverbanks to check out whether it's flooding, because there's been a ton of rain recently, so they're just, like, hanging out in the truck watching the rain. And Reeve is discussing how difficult school's been and how dumb he feels, because he has all these older siblings, and they're all off, like, you know, doing stuff, law school, et cetera, and he just feels like he's, like, not capable at all.
The doctors and the lawyers, and what are you? You're a clown.
Exactly.
Have some ambition. You sure this doesn't take place in New Jersey? Where does this take place?
Great question, Sam. And I wish I'd gone back and looked. I'm thinking maybe it's definitely East Coast, and I'm thinking someplace, maybe Connecticut, maybe somewhere in that general area.
Okay. I was just curious if this was, like, supposed to be New England still, or if this would be like, oh, they're across the country in Arizona or
No, this
whatever.
is definitely in New England, but, like, upper, so.
Okay, so they're in Canada. Got it.
No,
that's why the milk is in bags. We covered this.
So Janie, like I said, is totally half listening to this because she thinks she's now been kidnapped, so she's freaking out inside. And she's contemplating for the first time that nobody else in her family has red hair, which she does have, and that she doesn't laugh like them. Her fingernails aren't shaped like theirs, which I don't know if any of those things would be true.
I'm not saying it's impossible for a child to have red hair from two parents who don't. I mean, I think genetically it's possible if they both carry the recessive gene. Like, so without any further analysis of their genome, I don't think a conclusion can be drawn.
No, but she's 15, so she's like, well, that's weird. I never thought about it before, but I don't really look like my parents.
I'm not a geneticist, Danielle. I'll tell you that. But we should have one on to explain this to us, because I'm just guessing here.
Just add it to the roster, Sam, of people that we need to be on here. We still need a crabologist, so,
Whatever that is, yeah. We don't even know the right word for that. We're so far from having the right thing, we don't even know what it's called.
It's okay, they will know. They'll feel the calling.
When you hear us, they will come.
So, anyway, Reeves decides that they should go get ice cream because he saw earlier that she was already drinking milk, so she's already cheated, so you might as well enjoy the day because it's going to upset your stomach anyway.
If you're going to have debilitating cramps later, might as well have some ice cream. It makes sense to me.
So they go to the local diner, and as she's at the diner, she has a flashback to sitting with someone else. She's spinning herself on a high stool. She's little, and a woman was with her with long, straight hair who was helping keep her up on the stool, and they were laughing, and she hugged her.
I'm not really buying into this whole, memory unlocked by magic milk carton. Suddenly she has clear memory that she had repressed earlier.
Well, unfortunately for you, Sam, there are a lot of memories.
Oh,
in this
no.
book.
Look, I'm not a psychologist or a neuroscientist. I'm not a lot of things. And this book is going to require a lot of those people to explain to me if this is even remotely reasonable.
Well, how much do you remember before the age of 3 or at the age of 3?
Nothing.
I know. Virtually nothing, right?
Virtually nothing.
Maybe 2 or 3 memories.
If that. I mean, they could be just things that I've seen in photographs that I've assumed are my memories, because that's how the human brain works. It just creates memories. Yeah.
Nope. You would have, going on this, we're going to continue on this, you would think that she has,
perfect recall.
It's absurd.
She remembered every blade of grass when she was a baby crawling around in the yard. And
they're all, vaguely represented in the book. It's not like she has really crystal clear memories of stuff, but she has way more memories than anybody has under the age of 3.
Yeah, doesn't your brain not even have capacity to make memories up until a certain point?
I don't know that, but I don't remember almost anything until preschool, age 4. That was 3.5, 4, and then obviously kindergarten quite a bit more. But I don't remember stuff from when I was 2 or 3.
Yeah, I don't know. Danielle, I can't pinpoint an exact age, but I don't think I have anything to be oh, let me tell you my biography. I'll start when I'm 1 and go from there.
Yes. So she wanders her house, questioning her very existence. She's looking at all the photographs that are on the wall, etc., and she realizes again that there are no baby pictures. She's had this realization before, and she's actually asked her parents why there were not baby pictures of her. And they told her that they didn't get a camera until she was 5 years old.
Because you were an ugly baby.
Also, no camera. And apparently not a single other person in their life had a camera either.
I'm sticking with the ugly baby theory. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I might get some flack for this, but babies are pretty ugly. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm not saying
babies are pretty ugly.
Yeah, everyone says their baby's adorable, and I'm sure it looks cute to them, and that's fine. I don't want to take that away from anybody, but objectively, most babies it looked like kind of misshapen lumps of dough, and that's fine. That's what babies should look like. They're barely formed humans. Let's give them some time to develop before we start pressuring them to look good.
Well, apparently her parents didn't think she looked good until she was 5, and that's when they got a camera.
Honestly, I can't argue with them.
So she can't handle being in her house anymore, and she runs next door to be with Reeves' family. And she asks his mother, we're obviously really close, they've grown up together. So she asks his mom about when they moved in, because her mom has lived in the same house for 20 plus years. His mom, excuse me. And she asks his mom about what was her memory of when they moved into the house, the family.
And I remember it vividly. There were sirens. Cops were chasing you. There was a shootout. And your parents stuck into this house. And the cops just eventually left, and you were left there all alone. Thought it was weird.
She says that they moved in when she was 5, and her mom was very strict at the time, and that she still is strict. Actually, you see that a few times. But Janie was always really good, so she felt like she had to step up her mom game because her neighbor was so much more on top of it than she was.
Keeping up with the Joneses? That's a terrible reason to change your parenting style.
Oh, I don't think she really changed it that drastically, but she just felt like she, had to pay more attention, and they became good friends. They're fine.
Okay.
And then at this point, she has another memory, little Janie does, of someone wearing an apron when she was little. But her mother, her current mother, doesn't wear them. And they're watching Lassie on the TV. That's why she has this memory.
Oh, Lassie. I remember that existed at one point. That's definitely not, that's not a 90s thing, is it, right?
No, but I think that kind of show was, I don't know, the Nick at Night kind of thing. You're just more likely to be watching weird stuff from the 50s.
Fair enough.
I feel like I watched a lot of Lassie when I was 9.
That does explain a lot about you, Danielle, and your fear of wells.
Why does that have anything to do with Lassie?
Because Timmy was always falling down the well, Danielle. Did you not watch any Lassie?
I thought you said whales. Sorry, that was a whole different thing.
Danielle, that's projection.
Well, it made more sense contextually.
I mean, I'd like to see an episode called Timmy and the Whale, based on the Jonah story, and then Lassie to save him.
Yes, that happened. Anyway, later that afternoon, her mom arrives in a flurry. They have a cake decorating class that they're supposed to go to together later that evening. And she spends a lot of time, like, self-comparing to her mom. Like, well, my mom's like this, and I'm not like this, or I am like this, or, you know, she's, like, questioning everything.
That's not how you, like,
I agree, Sam.
I'm just saying, that's a very ineffective way to determine if you're related to somebody. Like, appearances can be deceiving.
Well, it's not just, like, appearances. She's also just thinking about, like, personality.
And that's even less likely.
Types, like, things that her mom does that she doesn't do.
She has sickle cell. I don't.
No. So they go to their class, and she's really terrible at it. I guess it's like they've done multiple classes together, always kind of like artsy classes, and she's just awful at them. And so she doesn't like to go to these classes, but so she feels compelled. So her mom
drags her to, like, let's go to a pottery class. Let's go to a life drawing class. Okay, great parenting.
Yeah. Her mom always does so well at them, and she doesn't. And she has another flashback to buying shoes. This girl has a lot of memories.
Who remembers buying shoes when you're, like, 2 years old? This is nonsense. This should be called the girl with the memory that will drive her insane, because she remembers too much.
She does remember too much. Back at school the next day, everybody is talking about the driving tests that are upcoming, and, you know, people are taking them at different times, obviously, but a lot of people just kind of started studying because it's that age. So someone mentions that they're afraid they're going to do something dumb, like forget to bring their birth certificate or whatever, and that'll be like the impediment to getting their license. And Janie has a sudden thought about needing to view her birth certificate because she's never seen it before.
Have I seen my birth certificate? Like, is that a thing people need to, like, view?
You've never looked at your birth certificate?
I mean, maybe. I don't think I've ever...
Did you apply for a passport?
I have a passport.
Well, then you had a birth certificate.
Yeah, but, like, I'm sure I have one. I just don't think I've ever been,
No, but you would have had to present, you would have had to, like, show them or make a copy or whatever of your birth certificate to give it to them. Or, you know,
my parents did when they got me the passport.
Is your passport, your parents got you the pass?
I don't know, I was like 10, 9, something like that.
You don't have a passport since then?
I do, but I don't have to send my birth certificate. I just send the old passport and they send you a new one.
Weird.
When's the last time you renewed a passport, Danielle?
A long time ago. I don't have a current passport.
You're yelling at me about how it's weird. Like, you don't even know how they work. Like, you never show your... No, you don't. You just send in your old passport before when it's expired and they send you the new one.
Unless you don't have your old passport and you have to get your birth certificate like me.
Yeah. See, that's a different problem, Danielle. I don't lose my passport.
I didn't lose my passport, Sam. It is into the ether of the sky.
How is that not losing it? I don't understand.
It got burned in the fire.
Oh, okay.
I mean, no longer have a passport. It is
that's
ashes.
Still being lost. It's just not like by carelessness. It's still lost.
But now I have to get a birth certificate. It's the whole thing. So I don't have a birth certificate either, obviously.
Oh, okay. You're yelling at me. You've never seen your birth certificate?
I've seen my birth certificate, though I owned it. It was in my file. Does your mom have your birth certificate?
I don't know. Maybe. Probably. That's not something I've ever needed, Danielle.
I don't even understand how you would never need a birth certificate for anything ever.
I don't even know why you need birth certificates to begin with. I exist. Clearly I was born. I don't need a receipt.
That's not how life works.
I mean, it would make more sense. Like, prove that you were born. I'm like, I'm standing in front of you. What more proof do you need?
And in order to get your birth certificate, at least from the state that I was born in, you have to send in a notarized signature that you are who you are.
I mean, see how nonsense this is? Like, send me a piece of paper you've signed with a notary that proves that says you are who you are. Like,
yeah, the crazy thing is, that if you go in person, you don't need the notarized thing. But if you apply online, you do need the notarized thing. So I have to go to notary tomorrow.
How would they test if you're who you are in person? What kind of...
I don't know the difference. Like, why can't I just send in my photo ID? What's the difference between seeing it in person and getting a photocopy front and back?
This is why, Danielle, I think birth certificates are dumb. A lot of, like, identification systems are done. Social security cards are being used for identification when they shouldn't be. They're just there to track your money. It's all nonsense, and this is why I don't care about birth certificate, because it shouldn't need to be a thing.
Yeah, or there should be some kind of online verification you can do. It's just stupid.
To be clear, I'm not some libertarian nut job saying that no person should ever have government ID and government should not, have a driver's license or all this should be canceled. Like, no, those are good. We should make sure that people are licensed to do things that are potentially dangerous to others.
But birth certificates.
But, like, some things, like birth certificates, and using Social Security cards as identification are just objectively not that useful.
Now, Social Security cards, I've seen mine, but I've basically never had to use it for anything ever.
Hey, guess what I have?
Your Social Security card?
Yeah, so look who's laughing now.
It's like I didn't even get a copy of mine because I was like, well, I'll never need that.
See, that's how I feel about birth certificate, Danielle. It would just have different strokes, you know?
Except I actually do need my birth certificate. To be fair, I have not needed it in the last 2 years.
All right, this conversation is just really revealing more about our political preferences and our personal identification preferences than we really need.
All right. So she arrives home and asks her mom if she can see a copy of her birth certificate, since she'll need it for her driver's test.
Which is not true. You don't need a birth certificate for a driver's test.
I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe you do in 1990. Maybe I did when I took mine. I don't know, Sam.
I didn't. I don't think.
I don't. You do have to bring in multiple ID for your.
Yeah.
I might have taken in my passport, possibly.
Yes. Passport. Perfect.
I don't know. Anyway, her mom seems nervous and tells her that she won't be eligible for months, so why even bother? And so Janie's like, well, I got interested in it because my friend was talking about it at school, so I just kind of wanted to see it. And her mom, defers, saying, oh, it's in the safety deposit box at the bank. It's such a hassle.
Just tell you lost it.
I know, there'd be a lot of visa. I have to apply for a new one, honey. I'm sorry, I don't have one.
Yeah, we'll just get you, you have to say, we got a problem, we lost it, we'll have to figure out some other way to get you another one or whatever. This is not, just saying, oh, it's in the safety deposit box when you can't produce it, it's just creating problems down the road.
Well, okay. Well, her mom might have panicked. We don't know. Is her mom kidnapped her? We don't know, Sam.
I'd be a way better kidnapper than her mother, and I'm not sure if she'd be proud of that. It's true, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's something I would ever do, but at least I think ahead.
So you'll see in a while how funny this is. So she asks to go see it, and her mom's like, oh, I'm busy. I don't have time for that today. She's like, well, how about Monday? Why don't we go on Monday? And her mom's like, okay, you need to stop. Stop being so sassy or whatever. She tells her to she's being bossy.
Sassy is your word, Danielle.
No, she didn't say sassy in the book. She says something along the lines of, don't tell me what to do kind of thing.
You're not the boss of me. You're my daughter, kind of.
Yeah. So what happens is Janie's like, well, you just don't want me to see the birth certificate. You're hiding something or you don't want me to see it for some reason. And that's when her mom's like, knock it off. You're not going to talk to me that way. I'm your mother. You're being ridiculous. And she changes the topic. So,
okay, great.
So later that afternoon, Janie goes to get a snack for herself and has another flashback to another kitchen with another family.
As a child who is 3.
She goes out to help, she needs to get out of her house again, so she goes out to help Reeve rake leaves. She sees him out the window, and she asks him...
Again, would you say Reeve Brakeley?
Rake leaves.
Oh.
He's raking leaves in the yard.
Oh, okay, I thought we changed his name.
I don't know what his last name is, to be honest. And she asks him if he thinks that people can track the 1-800 numbers if you call them. Can they track who's calling the 1-800 numbers?
No, this isn't today where everything's trackable.
And he kind of waves it off and laughs at her, and they get into
the payphone. They existed back then. Children, if you don't know what a payphone is, this was a phone. Oh boy, that was bolted to a piece of concrete or metal structure in a public space. I'm not going to get into it. Google it.
And there were public phones, everybody, okay? You could just use them. Everybody could use them. You put in some money, you got to use them.
Untraceable. See the movie Hackers from the 90s, right? They use payphones to great effect.
Or Matrix. Doesn't Matrix use payphones?
Oh, they do. Look up phone freaking. It's fun. It's spelled with a PH.
So they get into a big leaf fight as they're out there, and as he's helping rake leaves.
This is not going to be some kind of romance, is it?
No, they definitely don't kiss as they fall into the leaf pile. Moving on.
Danielle, what are you moving on quickly from?
That they definitely don't kiss when they fall into the leaf pile. Then they get separated when the mom's like, hey, Reeve, time to come in. And he's like, gotta go. Bye.
He's awkwardly hunched over to hide his boner, heading back into the house.
Yes.
Teenagers, I remember those times.
So that night...
I do remember. I don't remember when I was 3, but I remember the awkward boner phase of my life. Thanks, brain.
Thanks for sharing.
Look, I'm sorry. Is this something you think didn't happen to literally every child?
Male-bodied children.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't have that problem.
Yeah, you had other problems, let's be honest.
Yeah, ooh, boy, do we.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to get into who has the bigger problems, contest here, because it's not going to go well for either of us. I'm just saying.
So that night, she looks at the milk carton again, which she saved, of course.
Of course, why wouldn't you?
Right, and she's decided that she's going to dial the number.
Hi, I'm the kidnapped girl. Come get me.
Yeah. So she picks it up, she starts to dial, and she freaks out. She hangs up before she can get to the last couple of digits.
Oh, what?
She freaks out. She does not.
I got it. I'm just saying, why is she freaking out?
Because she doesn't want to call. She's afraid it's going to ruin her whole life, Sam. Would you, if you thought maybe you were the kidnapped child in a milk box, would you actually call the number? You'd have to think about it.
That's a fair point, but I was a strange child, Danielle.
You're like, my mom kidnapped me. Come get me.
I did remember. This might get cut. But I remember when one of my older cousins were visiting and they were walking with me downtown, I was throwing some kind of tantrum. Everyone thought he kidnapped me.
Oh, no.
And then he explained that, oh, yes, this is this person. Like, oh, yes, we've heard of him.
We've heard of him.
Small town.
I remember we were on a road trip once for school. We were visiting this place a couple hours north of our city, and we were holding up signs in the windows of the car that said, "Help, we're being kidnapped." And I think it's just by the grace of not having cell phones in the 90s that nobody called the police on that car.
Isn't that like a panel from Calvin and Hobbes?
Probably.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, we're lucky we didn't totally screw up. See, yeah. I think we would call the numbers, you know what, you and I would.
Okay, anyway, so the next day the family goes to a football game, I think at the local college, and for their picnic, which they brought with them...
Peanut butter sandwiches.
No. Okay. You'll literally never guess what they brought with their picnic.
Oysters.
No, but close. I mean, closer than I would have thought you'd get.
Is it some kind of seafood?
No.
Oh. Rocky Mountain oysters?
No, it is fancy, though. You ready for this?
Bring it on for the football picnic.
They brought, for the football picnic. They're basically tailgating. They brought a picnic of leg of lamb, wine,
yes.
wild rice, and a sheet cake.
Everything there can go except the sheet cake. And the wine. I'll keep the wine.
And the crazy thing is that's what you bring, of course. Not only did they bring that, but another family brought the exact same thing. Wait,
they had twinsies at the leg of lamb, wine, wild rice, sheet cake tailgate party?
Yes. I was reading this, I was like, first off, who brings that to, a football game? Secondly, there are more people that bring that same thing.
Maybe it's a tradition for, this football team. Everyone's leg of lamb day at the local college football game.
Was this a thing in 1990 that I don't know about?
Also, who brings a sheet cake to an event? We're 4 people. Let's all eat this giant sheet cake.
No, because I went with friends. I went with Reeve's family, I think, and stuff. And so, the mom made it by her grandma's recipe, and it had a little.
Her mom made a sheet cake.
Her mom made a sheet cake, and she decorated it with football stadium or something. I don't remember exactly what she put on it.
I have nothing against sheet cakes. They do the job. They're the workhorse of cakes. And they're delicious. They can be as delicious as any other cake out there. But, if you're going to tailgate with a fancy bottle of wine and wild rice and a leg of lamb, maybe, do a German chocolate cake or something fancy.
So good. That was the funniest part of the whole book to me. I actually read it a couple of times because I was laughing so much.
The sheet cake just seems incongruous to me compared to the other items.
Funny.
It's great.
So the football game went well, and the next day they're in class. And apparently, there's a winter vacation trip planned to Spain, because this is apparently the fanciest school ever.
Now, to be fair, Danielle, our high school did have international trips, but they were for specific language classes, and they were extracurricular.
Sure. Or certain groups
exchange
that you were
programs.
In, choir. Choir, for example, would sometimes do a big trip once a year, and you could potentially end up in Germany or something like that. But that's kind of again, as you said, extracurricular. It's not a thing your class does.
Yeah, and usually for a hefty contribution from
Absolutely. Yeah, you'd have to pay a ton of money for it.
Discounted from what a trip would cost yourself, but, still fairly unaffordable to many people, which is another problem with our education system, in addition to the milk carton peanut butter sandwich problem, which we'll get to later.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. I just laughed when I read it. I was like, whoa, well, okay. Fancy winter vacation trip to Spain.
If this is supposed to be like this dawning horror of this girl realizing her world is crumbling, try to make it less surreal to begin with and make it more believable, because I don't buy this for a second.
To be fair, one of the reasons this book has won like awards and stuff, and one of the reasons why this book is so well known is it does do a solid, like, it's a YA book, obviously. It does solid kind of de-evolution of this girl, kind of questioning everything she's ever known about herself, and like her having to kind of rebuild and figure out who she is in this new reality.
Fair enough. I'm not saying it doesn't do a good job of that, but it feels like a Tim Burton film at this point where people are bringing these weird items out.
Oh, like, sure. It's like wild. You're like, are these all upper class? Like, it must be like upper class Connecticut or something.
Yeah.
Like,
so it feels very hard to identify, like, be in the world when it feels so, like, othered.
Yeah. You're like, oh, yeah, your life's real tough.
Or also just like, this doesn't feel real. Like, I don't know why I should, how invested I should be in this. It's all a fantasy.
Being lamb for a picnic at a football game.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So she gets home and her family isn't there yet. She decides to sneak up into the attic, wondering if maybe there's more information up there or pictures or something.
Sure.
Or a birth certificate. So she starts digging around through all the old stuff before she finds this old rusty box. And inside the box
is the treasure map to a pirate treasure.
Absolutely. This goes completely askew. She ends up on a pirate ship. She has to dress as a boy. It's like Charlie Hook or something.
It's basically Goonies.
Yes.
Mixed with Treasure Island. Treasure Goonies. Goonie Island? We'll figure it out.
Both of those are good titles.
Right?
No.
How about Treasure Goonies, the legend of Goonie Island?
There you go. Anyway, no. Inside of the box, Sam, is filled with papers and photographs and old school reports, etc., etc. It's basically like a kid box,
Yeah. Everyone has a kid box.
Yeah,
keep our kids in there.
Right. And she doesn't find a kid inside. She just finds all the paperwork. And it's for somebody who's named Hannah. And she has no idea who Hannah is, but is curious, who they are since they warranted a box in the attic.
Do you think she thinks Hannah is a more, quote-unquote, like, special or exotic name than
Yes, 100%,
Jane?
I bet.
Yeah. Okay.
Friends have weird names. I wish I'd written them down.
Well, Reeve is a good start.
Yeah.
It does sound like a very country club. This is my son, Reeve.
Yeah, her friend, one of her friends is named like Adair or something. Like, it's just they've got those names.
These are the, like, waspiest people.
Yeah, essentially. Like, you have no question that they're, like, at least upper middle class, if not just flat out upper class.
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely like Connecticut wasps. I feel you.
So she finds a old school photographs and looks at the girl in the picture, who she assumes is Hannah, and this girl's 12 or 13. She's blonde. She's kind of mild looking. And she digs through a little more, and to her surprise, what does she find, Sam?
She finds the baby teeth of the girl.
That's gross.
What? Does your mother keep your baby teeth in a jar somewhere, Danielle?
No.
I don't know.
I had a lock of hair for a while. It's probably still floating around.
All right, what she finds is a death certificate for Hannah.
No, she finds
Hannah's corpse? Oh, boy. Oh, I got it. She finds a magical token that takes on a magical adventure to another world, and it's really just that she's experiencing a hallucination from a gas leak.
I mean, that'd be great, but no. She finds a piece of polka-dotted fabric under the rest of the papers, and she pulls it out, and out comes the dress from the milk carton.
These kidnappers are morons.
Terrible, right?
I mean, again, I'm not advocating for kidnapping. I'm glad they're being undone, but, like, I can still appreciate when people are doing something, even something terrible.
Yeah. So that night, at dinner, she's very short with her family. I did.
Like, I always appreciate skillful execution. Like, I feel like heist movies. Heists are crimes, but we all appreciate a good heist, right?
I do love a good heist.
Yeah. So, that's all I'm saying.
Have we done a heist movie? Oh, we did,
yeah.
the one with magic. Magic Heist.
Magic Heist. Now you see me, Danielle.
I'm glad you remember the name of the movie that I did.
I think you did the sequel, Now You See Me Too? Now
That's
you see
because
me,
it's weirder.
Now You See Me, Now You Don't? Well, I don't remember what the name of that one was.
Now You See Me No More.
It was something dumb.
Tiger in a Box. I don't know.
Anyway, it goes to that episode. I forgot that one existed, Danielle, I'll be honest.
That's a pretty good one, though. So She, like I said, she's very short with her family, and she managed to offend both parents before leaving the table abruptly to do homework. And then,
teenagers.
Guess what happens?
She has a flashback.
She has another flashback to clothes shopping with her mother, and she wants a little leather purse, and her mother refuses to buy it for her, telling her she has no need for it, and, she's 3. And little Janie gets upset and storms off, where she wanders into what I assume is a diner, and the lady with the long hair sits next to her and buys her a sundae.
And the woman's like, hey, do you want a nice leather purse?
She doesn't know if this is the person that's with her at the diner is like her mom who came and found her, or another person, because she can't quite see like the faces.
You mean she can't quite remember the faces, Danielle? This is all nonsense.
Right. So she wonders if the person, the mom that's in her memory, is maybe like a past relationship of her current father. Like maybe it was like her dad took her or something. I remember earlier when I was saying that the kids all thought it was like a divorced
his
parent.
ex-wife or something.
Yeah, exactly. And so like maybe that's what happened, how she ended up with the parents that she has now, or like maybe there was a divorce in the past and he got custody, or like something, just maybe she's not kidnapped. She doesn't know.
Only partly kidnapped.
So that day in school, she has an existential crisis when she's asked basic questions at a mixer that she's at, like, hey, where were you born? What did you like to do when you were little?
Does she not have any answers? She never asked these questions before in her life?
No, it's not that she doesn't have answers for these questions. I think it's more that now she's questioning those answers because she's like, wait, where was I born,
She's awfully young to be like questioning the reality of existence.
Well, if you found out you were kidnapped, wouldn't you like question your very reality?
Well, she doesn't know she's been kidnapped yet, Dan. She has a lot of speculation, a lot of circumstantial evidence that doesn't really point to anything conclusive.
I mean, there is somebody at some point suggested that she was kidnapped, and she now has the dress that she remembers being hers, so I imagine it'd feel like you were kidnapped.
And only one of any dress is ever made.
Well, it was kind of weird. You don't think it's a little weird?
I think it's a little weird. Yeah. I don't think I'd go full-blown existential crisis from this right away.
Oh, well, too bad this book is really just her, like, de-evolution into psychosis.
She unravels quickly. Like, if she just called the number, it would all be over.
Or just talk to her parents. See, maybe they had an explanation of some kind.
Right. Or even if they didn't, that'd be a great way to figure it out.
Yep. So when she gets home, she realizes she'll go mad if she doesn't ask her parents what's going on.
What's the deal with me being kidnapped?
And I'm going to read this to you. She says, I want to know why there aren't any photographs of me until I'm 5. Even if you didn't buy a camera until then, you would have had a baby portrait done. I want to know who Hannah is upstairs in the trunk. I want to know why you won't let me see my birth certificate.
Okay. First off, young lady, I don't appreciate that tone. Second off, who has baby portraits done? Get over yourself.
I don't know. Apparently they were a thing in the 90s.
Thirdly, Hannah, that's your little cousin, or that's a box that was left over from the previous owners of the house. We don't know.
Yes. That's not what her parents say.
Because they're bad kidnappers.
No, her parents are shocked, I tell you. And
never.
And they tell her that Hannah is her mother. They're not her real parents. They're her grandparents.
Are they that much older?
I guess.
Is that ever made clear?
I don't ever remember reading a description that they were older than most parents, but to be honest, probably skim through it.
Also, to be fair, I mean, they could have been very young parents.
Yes, they could have. Except it suggests later that I think we'll get into this, but I think they got married after college and then had a kid like a year later. So they weren't that young of parents, but maybe their daughter had a kid pretty young. Math-wise, This is very interesting, I think, the story.
This is why I read kidnap stories, enough for the math.
So she's very relieved, given that she thought she'd been kidnapped, and everybody just hugs it out. And they admit that they don't have a birth certificate for her. And again, I have literally no idea how she got, school? You need a birth certificate for school,
don't.
I'm pretty sure. Are you positive, Sam?
No, but I don't remember ever, again.
Why would you remember that? You didn't have to give it to him, your parents did.
Yeah, that's a fair point, but also, what are your, again, you're proving that you exist. I exist. They're public schools.
I still think you might need it. At some point, I feel like she might need a birth certificate for something. But also, I think the main point is they've had 12 years to figure out a birth certificate, and they've known at some point they're going to need one, and they just haven't done it.
Also, they had 12 years to clue her in on the fact that, or at least what their claim is, that they're her grandparents and her mother died tragically or something.
We'll get into this, Sam.
Yeah.
Because this is where the story starts to get wild.
Ooh. I thought it got wild with a turkey leg and sheet cake.
All right. So I still think this is funny because she's relieved that her parents are her grandparents, which, that's fine. I would probably be relieved that they weren't just like random strangers who would kidnap me too. But then at no point, and I'm going to spoiler this, no point during this conversation does she go, well, then why am I on a milk box?
Or also, what happened to my actual parents?
Well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
So they tell her that their last name isn't even Johnson, it's Javinson. And they tell her the story of Hannah. So
the story of Hannah, as relayed by the bard Danielle.
Okay.
You gotta practice your lute playing, Danielle.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay, I mean, sure, why not? Green sleeves. Let's do it.
I was trying to use something that we could actually have on the podcast, Sam.
But you know what? I appreciate your dedication. I don't think there's a copyright on the 300-year-old song Green Sleeves. How old
right,
it is?
And you said bard. I mean, obviously it would be that.
Yeah.
So, Hannah was an odd child, though they loved her, but she was never interested in things that other children were interested in. And she seemed to have some kind of weird internal guilt, like she didn't think life was fair for herself or other people because she had so much in her life and other people had so little. She had like a deep guilt about this.
If only more billionaires had that guilt.
They mentioned that if maybe they'd lived in a different time or if they had been really religious, they were not religious at all, that she might have become a nun. But instead, her life went another path.
She became the opposite of a nun because she had a baby.
No, they asked Janie if she knows what a cult is.
Oh, dear. So her mother ran off and joined a sex cult. Got it.
Not exactly. So they explain that in the 60s and 70s, the Hare Krishna movement was sweeping across the United States, and it attracted Hannah.
Hare Krishnas?
Yes.
I mean, I guess they're not the worst cult. It's not like Heaven's Gate or whatever, so that's probably better.
They got worse as time went on. I mean, I think they started very like hippie-esque, peace, love, and happiness, and then they became like embezzlers or something. Like they did some crazy stuff.
No cult has a happy ending, Danielle, let's be honest.
So she was told that if she joined, they said she would be purified. It wouldn't be her fault any longer that she had so much because she would have nothing. She'd be saved. And she was 16 at the time that she met these people.
Okay, that's terrible.
Yeah. They admit that that's why they've been so strict with her. Like her parents have been so strict with Janie, both in her past and more so now, because they were afraid she'd just about to turn 16, so they were kind of having some like PTSD trauma about their daughter and the choices that she made.
It's cult time for Janie.
Yeah. So they were kind of freaking out about it. So they tried all they could to get Hannah out, but she moved to California to join the Temple commune, and they finally virtually lost contact, at one point receiving an official letter that she had been wed to a man in the cult.
Yep. Well, sex cult.
There was no name or information of the man that she married. It was just a notice that she'd been married. And then one day, the front door opened, and Hannah came in, holding Janie by the hand.
Little 3-year-old Janie.
Mm-hmm. And this is her mom says, "You were her little girl by the man who had been chosen as her mate by the leader." Janie says, "Mate? What an animal term for the love between husband and wife."
Did she not understand cult?
I don't think she's getting... I like my notes literally like, I don't think she's getting the story.
Yeah, I think she's missing a few key details here.
Also, what a weird thing for a 15-year-old to say. So they take a break to make dinner, and Janie seems totally cool with this story. She's just, like, glad she wasn't kidnapped. She's like, well, that's kind of weird, but, well, at least I have you guys.
But as you point out, Danielle, her face is still in the milk carton, so something's
which she has not yet brought up with her parents. So who put in the kidnapping notice? Was it the dad? Was it like somebody else? Like she just it never comes up in this part of the story as to who possibly could have kidnapped her, why she would be on any list for kidnapping. So it turns out Hannah realized that she didn't want to raise her daughter in a cult, so she escaped.
Ooh, finally.
Yes, and the family realizes the cult could find them very easily as they'd always tried to stay in touch with Hannah, so they'd continually sent on their change of address if they'd moved.
Mm-hmm.
And so they ended up speaking to her dad's work. He worked at IBM, plug for IBM. And
milk cartons, don't forget those. IBM and milk cartons, the 90s.
And they helped him out. They booked them a hotel under an assumed name. They sold the house for them. They ran everything through his work so that it wasn't directly attached to his name. And so they lived their lives like this until one day Hannah decided she wanted to return to the cult because for her it was kind of an addiction. Like it wasn't something she could easily get out of.
I just can't quit you, cult.
I just can't quit you, Hare Krishnas. But she agrees to let Janie stay. So they kept her.
So that's the story, and they're sticking with it, huh?
Yeah, but Janie does have a little flashback of a memory of a red-headed man holding her in the air and playing with her. It must be her dad.
Sure. Maybe.
They realize that the cult, or the father, would likely come after Janie, and their attorney suggests that they change their name to something less conspicuous, because that's not a super common name. And they stop communicating with Hannah and let her go, and they moved and changed their names. The end.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing, Danielle. The book is all wrapped up. And it just shows you that if you communicate openly and honestly with your children, you will have a better relationship and they'll grow up healthier and happier and more well-adjusted.
Absolutely. That was the moral of the story. I hope everybody enjoyed that.
Yeah, really nice. Really heartwarming. I'm glad that won so many prizes.
Yeah, there was no reason for a dehumidifier in this story.
No hubris at all.
Anyway, that night...
Oh, there's more. There's an epilogue. I'm sorry.
There's an epilogue, yeah. So in the epilogue, she wakes up in a sweat thinking about her memories. She doesn't understand why she doesn't remember yellow robes and things about cults, but remembers Sundays and aprons and shopping. And why...
Because you were 3 years old!
She just feels like that, like, if you're going to have imprints on your memories at 3, she feels like yellow robes at a cult would probably make more of an impact than an apron. But I don't think your brain's that.
I don't know.
Again, why she doesn't just ask him about the lost poster. I don't know. She finds herself imagining that her parents, destroyed by Hannah leaving them the first time, had really just taken a drive and found themselves another little girl to replace them. Like kind of some kind of trauma reaction.
So her speculation now is that they lost Hannah, like, well, time to get another little girl so we can do it right this time.
I'm not sure it's her speculation, but it's like a passing
fantasy
thought. It's like, well, maybe this happened instead kind of thing. She has a lot of these. So the next morning, she pretends everything is fine, but is obviously really confused. And after Reeve picks her up for school, she convinces him to cut school and go for a drive. And he's like all excited about this. He's like, yeah.
He wants to go back to dry humping in the leaf pile.
But she ends up navigating him towards New Jersey.
Oh, that's even worse. No, go away. Save yourselves. Go back to the leaf pile. It's warm.
So she tells him the story about what happened as they drive, and he's obviously very disbelieving about it. He's kind of a jerk about it. He's a little bit of a jerk. Very like 90s boy, young adult boy.
Explain to me what the 90s boy is, Danielle.
Usually they're a little bit of a jerk. And it's like that kind of a...
Case closed.
Like the little bit of that patriarchal, like, nonsense, I know better than you kind of thing that was very common in the 90s.
Mansplaining.
Like, yeah, a little bit of that going on. Mm-hmm. Or like, well, I don't really believe you. I think you're wrong.
Great. Thank you for elaborating on the 90s man. Next, we'll talk about the Anthropocene man.
Going back. All right. He asks why she doesn't just ask her parents. Valid point, Reeve. Valid point.
I mean, he may be a jerk, but that's not a bad idea.
He's not like a jerk. He's just kind of a teenage boy who was raised,
Yeah.
Just in a time period. And she says if they already lied to her, it would hurt their feelings.
What?
I don't understand this part at all.
Does Janie understand how maybe she doesn't understand how human beings work. She lives with a family who takes sheet cakes to football.
Leg of lamb.
Yeah, clearly her notion of how normal human beings behave is totally skewed.
But it is very perplexing. I'm like, you already asked them about it, so just ask them more.
One more time.
The plan seems to be, once they get to the New Jersey area where she supposedly was located, that she plans to look up the name of the girl on the box is Jenny Spring, just so you know. Jennifer Spring, I imagine.
Oh, thank you. I don't care.
Well, the point is that when they go to New Jersey, the plan is to look up the Spring family in the phone book of the area where she was kidnapped, and see if there's probably like not multiple Spring families, because that's not a really common last name. Is the idea.
Do you believe that any of these stories, like Terminator or this, where people look up someone from the phone book, would ever actually work?
Maybe. I mean, phone books used to be much more comprehensive than they are now.
Yeah, but like, also, how many springs were there?
Apparently not a lot in this small area of New Jersey, Sam.
Oh, wow. Look at me, being a fool.
I mean, it's like, have you ever met somebody with last name Spring? Not really a common last name.
Wow, it doesn't feel like it's, something completely out of the ordinary.
Well, once they get there, that's the plan. And Reeve points out that it's possible that a huge media storm is about to hit them, or she'll ruin her relationship with her parents if it's not true. Like, he's basically doing like worst case scenario kind of stuff.
Being very supportive, understood.
Absolutely not, because he's trying to jump out as a chauffeur. He's like, like, I don't really want to be part of this. Can I go? Can we go? Like,
yeah. I came here for the making out, not for the chauffeuring. So you either put up or shut up.
He's like, I know I'm your best friend, but I don't want to be supportive about this at all, dude. Like, let's go home. But they continue to drive. They finally get to New Jersey. This is a long trip. This took like half the day or something to get there.
It's been a long description about this trip, Danielle.
And when they get there really is only one Spring family in the phone book. So they make their way to that.
I'm so glad that one Spring family is still there and in the last 16 years hasn't moved or whatever.
12 years. But yeah, apparently they haven't moved in 12 years. So they get stuck behind, well, maybe they've moved, but they haven't moved out of this area, at the very bare minimum. As they're making their way down the road, they get stuck behind a school bus, and they see two redheaded kids get off and head into the house that's listed in the phone book.
They're the Spring kids, her siblings. Oh
my God, it's her kid, it's her brothers and sisters. She remembers that they had a big yellow dog, and a redheaded woman opens the door and lets them in, and Janie panics, and when she's inside the car still, but she panics, and she tells Reeve that they need to go.
Gas it!
And they drive home, and they get there very late, and all the parents are very angry and very scared.
Janie needs to, like, get some conviction, grow a spine.
She needs to pick a side is what she needs to do.
She needs to, like, make a decision. Yeah.
So she goes to school and she ends up researching herself on microfiche in the library, which I'll be honest, probably would have been one of the first things I did was like look up old newspapers from the time I was kidnapped.
Sure. I'm sure they have the local New Jersey paper here in Connecticut.
Apparently they do.
It's because high school library.
No, it's because they made it, the articles made it to like the New York Times or something. It was like some kind of big deal at the time that she was kidnapped. So apparently it's made national news because
And they're only putting her on the milk cartons now, 12 years later?
I think they just kind of ran through those. Like they did like current ones and past ones. But sometimes you see them. She's never seen it before. She doesn't drink milk. She's lactose intolerant, Sam.
Well, no, she's not, but we'll get to that. Sure.
You never hear about her upset stomach, so maybe she's not.
Look, unless she's got the poo-poo, she ain't lactose intolerant.
So it freaks her out, and that night at dinner, she recalls a prayer that her other family used to do, because that's what you remember when you're 3 years old.
Her memory to 3-year-old is really incredible. They gotta, like, unkidnap her so they can research her brain.
I know. Here's the prayer. Bless this food, bless this house, may all my brood be quiet as a mouse. Her dad used to say it, apparently, at the table.
Brood? Oof.
Because they had multiple kids, I guess.
I know what it means, Danielle. This is not very complimentary of your family.
So she feels like she wants to write all this down because she just like there's too much in her head. So she starts kind of like journaling a little bit about her ideas and what she thinks happened and blah, blah, blah. And she ends up writing a note to her other parents. Not one she's going to send, but she writes another note to her other parents, letting them know that she's safe. She always has been. Please not let her current parents know because she does love them and that she's sorry she forgot about them. And she puts it in an envelope and like tacks it into her notebook that she has.
I'm sure that won't come back to bite her later.
Certainly won't. One night she's at her house and she drops her notebook, and what she's done is she's like flattened the milk carton inside of it and clipped it in there. And so she drops the notebook and it opens on that page, and her parents glance down and she like jumps on it and she's like, can't see that, that's mine. Ah. And she panics and scoops it up before they can see.
She needs to like put under her mattress or something.
Yes, we'll get there. Maybe. So she's decided you threw me off.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to direct?
So Reeve and her so she's decided she's kind of like gonna let it go. So she's just basically hanging out. She's thinking about it a lot, but she hasn't said anything. So Reeve and her end up spending a lot of time together as the weeks pass. And one day Reeve admits that he told his sister Lizzie, who's studying to be a lawyer, about what happened. And obviously she's really angry about that, Janie.
Yeah, no kidding. What a betrayal.
Yeah. And he explains that he did it because he felt like she needed outside advice because she's just thinking about it constantly. And since Lizzie's going to be a lawyer, like she'd be a good person to ask.
Yes, a lawyer can help you through your psychological trauma.
Yes, a lawyer who's not even a lawyer yet can help you through your psychological trauma.
Reeve, I know you got like the hots for Janie here, but come on, think through it, bro.
Yes. But unfortunately for him, he did not. He told Lizzie, but... bonus, Lizzie has something interesting to say. What do you think Lizzie has to say, Sam?
How'd the chicken cross the road?
No. What's Lizzie's theory?
Oh, I got it. She's been Clark Kented. She's an alien.
Yes. What?
What? She's an alien, been adopted by human parents. It's obvious, right?
Yes, the other 3 books in the series actually go sci-fi, and we discover that Janie's actually an alien living.
That's the only way I can imagine they could stretch this paper-thin plot over 3 books.
Really? Because you ready for this?
Sure.
Lizzie thinks that Hannah actually kidnapped her.
So she thinks her mother kidnapped her for the cult.
No, didn't kidnap her for the cult. Just flat out kidnapped her.
Just
and then brought her to her own parents.
Claiming she was her biological child?
Yep.
I mean, sure. Why not?
Because everybody agrees that her current parents, the Johnsons, would never do that. They just don't have a kidnapping vibe, I guess.
Yes, you can always tell kidnappers by their vibe.
That's basically what the book says, Sam. I'm just telling you what it says.
I really want them to be the ultimate kidnappers because I want them to be like a sinister turn, like a Stepford wife kind of thing.
Maybe you'll find out in other books. So they think
this book has no resolution to this whole big question. I'll be very angry with you, Danielle.
Okay. They think
that's not a good laugh. You're a terrible person.
They think Hannah really did run away from the cult. Like, that actually happened. And she had probably stopped at the diner along her way. And when little Janie was so cute and sweet and had sat down next to her, and then they had the sundae and held her hand, and Hannah had just kind of like gone along with it, probably because she craved company and affection, and whether that was a conscious decision or not, she just like decided to walk off with this little
it was
kid.
Accidental kidnapping. You stumbled into a kidnapping. Oh, how did this happen? I was at a diner, the next moment kidnapping a child.
That's 100% how the book suggests it. It's just that like she was so distraught from her time with the needed company.
No.
She was so sad that she ended up just walking away with a little kid. By the time she got to her parents' house, it was too late. The kid was hers.
No, I refuse.
I like that. Here's the best part. So that's crazy, obviously.
Yeah.
And I like that Lizzie's like, this is definitely what happened. And you'll see shortly, everybody's just like, yeah, that's probably what happened. You're right.
How everyone's like so sure this like, absolutely insane thing happened? Why couldn't she just be Hannah's daughter?
I don't know. I don't know why they couldn't just be Hannah's daughter. That would make the most logical sense.
And then then Hannah and her cult husband put the, picture up on the milk carton to try to track Hannah down after her parents, or her grandparents, I guess, isolated her from them.
Absolutely. Logically, it would make sense that she's just Hannah's daughter and the father is the one who put out the kidnapping thing or something.
Or, Hannah also, now that she's back in the cult. Whatever.
Sure. But they think that Hannah, as soon as she was back in the cult, would have said that she gave her kid to the parents or whatever.
Yeah, but they can't track them down. Did you tell them how they did all this stuff to hide from the cult?
Right. So they would have, I guess, put up a kidnapping thing.
That's what I'm getting at. It's just that easy.
Yes, I agree that that's the most likely course. But no, Sam, what happened was that Hannah kidnapped the kid from a whole other family for funsies.
Nonsense. I've lost, I remember I said with the sheet cake really brought me out of this book as being a piece of reality. This is even, I can't identify with any of it. This poor girl, she's going through psychological trauma of some situation that is completely insane.
Welcome to Caroline B. Cooney.
Okay, great. I'm so happy you brought me here.
These are like all the other books that we read from the 90s, Sam. What's his name? Christopher Pike novels. These are exactly the same kind of plot twist where you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, but those were kitschy horror camp books. This is trying to be a serious drama.
She's suspense thriller. That's kind of her genre.
Yeah, but she's also you said, this is an award-winning book for the depths it plumbs into a young girl's psyche.
It is. I'm just saying, it's really, it sold millions of copies. This is a book.
I know it's a book. I'm not saying it can be a popular book. I'm not sure if it's Pulitzer Prize-winning delve into a young child's psyche.
It's not specifically because of that. It's also just the drama and suspense of the story, and then it goes on, obviously, as I said, for several more books.
Okay, sure. Maybe I should read it before I cast aspersions.
So they discuss the ramifications of getting the FBI involved, whether she wants to meet her family, etc.
Just call the number on the milk carton!
And she decides, Sam, too late, Sam, she decides that she doesn't want to deal with it. It's just too much, and she doesn't want to hurt her family, and etc., etc. So that night, she's hanging out with her friends when one finally asks her why the heck she constantly opens her notebook to stare at a milk carton.
Oh, I'm just going to put it out of my mind. Brings milk carton to hang out with friends.
I don't think she's doing it as she's hanging out with her friends in this moment, but just in general, it comes up in conversation. And her mother walks in with snacks and is like, yeah, I've wondered that too, since that one time you almost had a heart attack when it fell open in front of us. What the heck, Janie? What's going on?
Look, don't shame her for her spank bank material.
That she looks at during school constantly. I'm
not here to judge. Teenagers have it hard.
Well, later, Janie excuses herself and runs up to her room intent on ripping her spank bank material out of the notebook. And she decides she's going to rip it up and throw it in the toilet. But, of course, she can't do that. And she hides it under her mattress instead. Good call, Sam. Good call.
I mean, I know how cliches work.
It's the only safe place in a bedroom where parents would totally look.
No one ever looked under her mattress. Finally,
convincing herself it's the right thing to do, Janie does decide to call the 1-800 number. And it rings and rings, and it finally goes to a voicemail, which is probably just an answering.
What a terrible, hotline for kidnapped children. Leave a message. We'll find you eventually.
And she hangs up before she can leave a message, because of course she does.
I don't know who's running that hotline, but that's awful.
He's probably understaffed or only manned between 9 and 5 or something.
Yeah, sure. So why did she call back during business hours?
Because you would think, tip hotline, it probably is just a voicemail, answering machine, whatever, 90s.
Maybe. I don't know.
So she finds that as time goes on, she's beating herself up about not having done more when she was little, when she was kidnapped. Because she didn't scream, she only has happy memories of potentially being kidnapped. She seems completely unconcerned by the fact that she suddenly was living with a new family.
I'm not saying it's a good thing she was kidnapped, but, if the worst thing you say about your kidnapping is you only have happy memories about it, that's, the best case scenario kidnapping.
Right.
Still bad, but not hey, I was tortured as a child. No, good thing.
Right, but she's just having this weird thing where she's blaming her 3-year-old self, which is certainly a choice. Probably needs therapy.
Oh, yeah. Can't do that.
It's from what she remembers, she got mad at her biological mom, wandered off, and then just walked away with another person. She's why was I such a terrible human being when I was 3? She gives herself no grace for being a child when this went down.
I forgive myself for stuff I did when I was 15 when I was an idiot. I bring myself I did last year when I was an idiot. You're constantly becoming less of an idiot as you age, hopefully.
I would hope, yeah. Well, no, she's totally bearing down on the fact that as a child she didn't do enough. And I think that's probably something some people feel. I also think, boy, man, you were 3. Let it go.
All those child jujitsu lessons went to waste, apparently.
I know. You don't even know what's happening when you're 3.
You shouldn't even remember any of it anyway, but that's a whole other problem.
So she decides that she wants to be the kind of person who would be better than that, and she tells Reeve that the little girl never looked back, and she hates her for that. And I feel again, that's a lot of blame to assign to a 3-year-old.
And you don't even know if that's true or not.
Yeah, you don't have full memories of that time, so maybe you did scream the entire way.
You're just all assuming you wandered off with Hannah.
So Reeve tells her that he's worried about her, that he thought maybe she could forget about it, or at least move on from it, but she obviously can't, and it's destroying her. And so she needs to talk to her parents about it. And she refuses because she feels like she has to trade in her parents for a new set, and she doesn't feel like she can do that, which is crazy because I know she's 15, but what? You're not. No, what? They'd figure something out.
Right. If your grandparents are truly blameless in this situation, and I know it'd be very difficult, awkward probably, but I'm sure you would find a way to have hey, they're all Uncle and Auntie Jones.
Sure.
That we see for the holidays or whatever, yeah.
Right, and maybe you would have to go back and live with your other family, but maybe you could do summers with the other ones. It's not like you're just, switching up, never going to see the other family ever again.
Right. You still have some agency here. You're almost an adult in a few years.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Clearly she's not ready for adulthood.
She's very 15. Probably young 15.
She's the youngest 15. She's 8 going on 15.
Yeah, but Reeve does. I guess Reeve is slightly more mature. Who knew? He points out that nobody's going to make her just switch her parents. That they figured it out. Basically, they'd figure it out.
She's unconvinced by this, I bet.
No, he tells her that she needs to bring her parents into the mess or he's not going to see her again. And she's fine, and she storms off. So I don't think he should have given the ultimatum, but here we are.
Yeah, not the healthiest way to check for people with ultimatums.
At school, she checks her notebook. She's in a funk, she's I've got to see the notebook again. I think she's using it. It's kind of an obsessive anxiety tool. So at school, she checks her notebook, wanting to see the milk carton again, and remembers that it's under her mattress. But she realizes that her notebook, which was in her locker, and the note that she wrote to her other parents, is missing.
Oh no, her parents found it. Oh, who did not see this coming? Consequences for my own actions. I never expected this.
I don't think her parents found it. It's been at school, so did her parents dig through her locker?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe some bullies found it. Whatever. It's the very 90s. Bullies are probably involved somehow.
Well, the story's almost over, so I don't think bullies are that involved.
It's almost over? There's nothing happened in this story. This is a nothing story. You said, oh, that's what a cliffhanger. No, it's sort of self-contained. No, there's nothing here.
You're going to hate this, Sam.
Danielle, this is nothing. This is like a whole book of setup. This is worse than Hyperion in terms of having no story.
So she panics. She panics because her notebook's missing and she's worried that it's been sent. She goes straight to Reeve and like pulls him out of class. And
she put an address on it?
Yeah, she didn't do a stamp, but she addressed it, return address, and like put the note in there. I don't know what her thought process was, but she was carrying it around like a little security blanket and now it's missing.
Did Reeve mail it?
I can't tell you that because everybody just assumes that it's been sent for reasons
By
unknown.
whom?
I don't know.
I found this random envelope on the floor. Let me put a stamp on it and mail it.
It has her name on it, I think, or at least an address. Like, I think I'll just put it in the mailbox. Not what I would do.
Idiots.
Reeve convinces her to call Lizzie, who, I don't know why.
What's she gonna do? Like, I am a lawyer. I have the power of finding lost mail.
Well, she comes down to, like, help her field things, because if it's been sent, then obviously the other family's gonna find out, that she exists and that she's living with this family.
It's got like 3 or 4 days. It's probably fine.
It's probably fine. However, Lizzie decides to come down and help. So she's like, comes down so that she can talk to her parents with Lizzie present, I guess.
This is my representative family. I'm looking for emancipation.
Yeah, exactly. And they finally tell her parents, who are all like, well, I guess that makes sense. I guess Hannah could have kidnapped you. Sure. Like, they just go with it.
They take that. Everyone is so on board with this Hannah kidnaps theory. That makes no sense.
Yeah, it's terrible. And they're like, well, I assume the FBI is going to show up any time now. Like, letters don't take that long.
Oh, this is so stupid.
And the phone rings as they're discussing it, and they all kind of panic and just let it ring and ring and ring, including Lizzie, who's being absolutely no help if she's supposed to be the representative in this case.
What's the point if I'm going to sit there like scared meerkats as the phone rings?
I don't know, but it's not like, I think this is literally like the same day, so the letter wouldn't even be there. So the phone ringing is probably just coincidental.
Unrelated, yeah.
Yeah, which her father points out, like, that's unlikely. Also, he goes, it's also possible that the letter just got swept up with the trash and thrown away. Like, we have absolutely no proof that it was actually sent to anybody.
People jump to conclusions so rapidly in this story. The letter's been sent. Hannah kidnapped you. This is really, like...
Yeah, it's wild. And her mother says if they don't take any action, knowing that this is probably the case, that she probably was actually kidnapped from this family in New Jersey.
Probably the case. What evidence for probably?
That she was, why else would it say she was kidnapped from New Jersey if, like, Hannah didn't kidnap her from New Jersey? Like,
maybe Hannah and her husband are living in Jersey now. I don't know where the cult is.
Well, the cult's in California. We established that earlier.
It was in California. They don't know where. People leave and move.
That's true. It's possible. They're just kidnapped from Jersey. Who knows? Sam, I don't know.
All I'm saying is they're jumping to immense conclusions. Like, oh, yep, Hannah definitely kidnapped you from Jersey. That's exactly what happened. Like, you have no evidence for any
I don't
of
disagree
this.
with that. So, but her mother says that if that's true, if she was kidnapped and they don't take any action, then they might as well have kidnapped her. Like the two of them might have well kidnapped her because it's not morally right to not tell anybody that she's potentially this kidnapped child.
So call the tip line, talk to somebody, figure it out. Don't just make an assumption.
No, they skip that part entirely, Sam. So what they decide to do is
they're going to visit the family?
No, they're going to call the family. They're going to they pick up the phone to make the call. They hand the phone to Janie, and Janie says, "Hi, it's your daughter, me, Jenny." That's the end of the book.
Does the book end?
Yeah, that's the end of the book. I'm so sorry.
I'm not saying the book's terrible. That's a terrible ending, though.
That's because the second book picks up with the other stuff going on.
Family. But you misrepresented it grossly by saying, it's mostly standalone.
I just meant that...
That was a lie. That was a flat out... No, I'm not letting you get away with this one. It's a lie.
I meant that if you read this book was just like, is she going to reach out to the family or not? That part's resolved. She obviously reaches out to the family. Obviously does not resolve the entire...
That's the inciting incident, Danielle, of the book. That's the book starting the story.
But the story for this book, if you read it, the story for this book is like her coming to terms with this idea that she's not who she thought she was.
Yeah, but when the idea is actually valid, like, what happens if you put the phone, "Hi, it's me." You're talking like Janie. Like, we don't have a daughter named Janie. I don't know what you're talking about. Go away. Boom. There. That's the end of the book.
Problem solved. That'd be hilarious, but no.
Wild. That's insane.
No, I thought you'd appreciate that.
Appreciate's a strong word. maybe there was a lot more in the reading than in the retelling.
I don't know about that, but yeah, really well-known series, really well-known book. Do you want to take a gander at what the other names of the books are in the series? There's
the
3 other
girl
ones.
on the soy milk carton.
No, there wasn't soy milk. It's 1990s. So I have to stay with it.
The girl on the yogurt bottle.
No.
The girl on the Jumbotron.
No, they're not the girl anything.
Danielle, I'm on a roll here for great ideas for book names.
Give up?
All right, gander me up then.
No. Whatever happened to Janie is the next one.
Oh, okay. I'm going to finally answer that question.
Do you want a summary? We good?
No. Because I'm going to make you do that book. You dug this hole.
You're going to make me do all 4 books?
All of them.
That's good, because the next one's crazy. The voice on the radio is the next one.
Oh, I hear a voice on the radio. I must have been kidnapped from a radio station.
Maybe there are 5. The next one's What Janie Found.
How Stella got her groove back?
No, the last one is Janie Face to Face.
This sounds like a prize fight? I don't know.
Janie Face to Face makes it sound like she was like, there's like twins or something going on.
No, it sounds like one of those like Barbara Walters interviews, you know?
That's true.
Someone who was like, Barbara Walters interviews herself. Barbara Walters face to face kind of thing.
That'd be hilarious.
I'd love that. Oh, I miss Babs. But, oh, that was something, Danielle.
You're welcome. I thought you'd appreciate the escalation of nonsense and then the complete capability she has
damp squib of the ending.
Yes, and the immense ability she has to remember everything that ever happened at the age of 3.
Look, I can forgive the literary device of giving her a perfect 3-year-old memory. I don't mean her memory is 3-year-olds, I mean a memory of being a 3-year-old. But I will not cotton to jumping to wild conclusions that everyone in the whole universe accepts as obviously true.
My favorite part is when they're like, Hannah kidnapped her. Like, yep, Hannah kidnapped her. Yep, that must have been what happened. Oh, well, Hannah kidnapped her.
She always talked about how she wanted to kidnap a child one day. She had a vision board of kidnapping children up in her room. And we thought, no, that's just her being Hannah. I never thought she'd actually go through it. So she showed up with a child, which assumed it was hers. But I guess it was her kidnapped. She really accomplished her dreams, that Hannah. Good for her.
There's even a part in the book where the mom was like, maybe we should have questioned it more when Hannah just showed up with the child. But, we hadn't seen her in so long. We just figured that's what happened. Like, she'd had a kid and brought it to us.
It was so weird. She was wearing a t-shirt with an arrow pointing at the baby that said, I'm with kidnapped. Winning impression at the time.
When I was reading that, I was like, why is that just true? Like, what? Sure, it's a theory that could potentially be true.
But there are so many other explanations that are way more logical. I'm not saying this couldn't happen or it was impossible to happen, but the fact that they jumped to that conclusion to the exclusion of every other possible explanation immediately is nonsense.
Yeah, it's wild. And then they immediately contact the family, which seems crazy to me. I feel like I would have gone through a third party. I would have gone through somebody put the ad in the milk carton, so I would contact those people. They probably have a process for this. Yeah, so it's not quite so hi, I'm your daughter. I'm here.
Let me just drop this bombshell on you in the middle of your day. So. Also, why was there any sort of latent romance between her and Reeve?
Because because it carries on through the rest of the series. They've been best friends since they were little kids.
Sure. I mean, I guess being best friends with someone since you're a little kid means you have to start dating them.
Well, in 1990, yes.
You know my feelings on those kind of assumptions about friendships and how upsetting and infuriating I find them. Well,
in 1990, apparently there were no friends that were boys and girls, or whatever sex you were attracted to. You could not be friends with them.
Apparently not. Impossible. Yes, Danielle, our friendship's a fraud. We should never do this podcast again. This is our last episode, everybody. Bye.
This is what we're ending on. Cliffhanger. Because of face on the milk
carton. This is your fault.
And no ending to Hyperion.
No one really cared about that anyway, I'm sure. They're just hearing me rant.
I don't think that's true.
No, I think it's really good. We can't end it. You're right. Sorry. I'm retired.
We have to at least finish book 2. Everybody's been waiting for the climax of book 2. And then what's the third book called?
Endymion.
Endymion.
No, how is this? You're just making nonsense words. How are you saying Endymion's a crazy name, but Janie face to face? Oh.
Endymion. It's the name of a planet. It's Hyperion 2.
No, I think it's another. I looked it up once. I forgot what it was. But it's another Greek reference, I think, in the same way Hyperion is.
Oh, I'm sure I'll learn about it. I'm sure I'll have to research things because Sam won't.
Yeah, look, Danielle, If I've learned anything, it's why do the work when someone else will do it for you.
Nobody told me this podcast would involve research.
No one's telling you it has to. You're the one who's taking the initiative to do that.
I felt like I needed to know more about Keats. We literally talk about him every week.
Do you really need to know more about Keats than what's in the book? I think it's more fun to have no idea what Keats is all about and to be like,
but then
why
you don't
is
get the
this Keats guy so
references.
important? You keep talking about Keats, and oh, it's weird. All right, well, I guess he's important in some way.
I'm going to read a book about Keats or watch a movie.
You're going to read a biography of Keats?
I might.
We already got the biography from the book.
It's true, I know a lot
Fanny.
about Keats.
She had to be sent to the Italian countryside to die of consumption with his friend Severn. Boom, done. Keeps his life.
Yeah, that was his
some
whole
poems
life.
sometimes in there. You wrote some poems in there. Why are we talking about Keats during the Girl in the Milk Carton episode, Danielle? Your brain gets really focused on Hyperion. For someone who can't remember any details about the books at all, you are focused on it.
It's ever since you told me that whatchamacallit, the crabs was actually Hyperion. Now it's stuck in my head that all books are Hyperion.
we have found this is the hero's journey in a book form. We have found the meta-narrative.
Yes.
This is the Joseph Campbellian idea of the Uber myth or whatever.
Sure.
Of the story. Hyperion is the new benchmark that we're going to use to describe all stories.
Oh, God. It's only because we've stayed with it for so freaking long.
Danielle, can't you see, read Hyperion, for it contains everything.
Yes.
All stories are Hyperion and what? How is the girl in the milk carton basically Hyperion? Well, you
the
have
face,
a girl.
The face on the milk carton, Sam. It's a face, not a girl.
Whatever. I mean, it's a girl's face.
All
I'm
right.
just saying. How is the milk carton represented? Maybe the milk carton's a Shrike, and...
I'll think on it. I'll write my thesis.
Please do. I want to hear a comprehensive analysis that compares Hyperion to everything you do from henceforward.
Perfect. On it.
Great. Well, if you have a suggestion for how Hyperion could fit into other literary works, you can send those ideas to us at bookretorts.com.
You can also tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us at bookretorts.
And if you want to fund us finally getting our birth certificates figured out, you can do so at patreon.com/bookretorts.
It's very expensive to get a birth certificate, you guys.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, why?
If you don't live in the state where you were born, it is a lot of money.
I still maintain I should not need to prove that I exist.
I'm more offended that I have to find a notary than that I had to pay, to be honest.
You know, my mom's a notary.
How is that? How did I... What? You know how much effort? I waited for days for the lady to email me back.
Just ask my mom. I think she's still a notary.
It's too late. I have an appointment tomorrow at noon. It's fine.
My dad was also a notary. We had notaries all... My family's all notaries.
I used to be a notary, but that's not helpful to me.
Man, Danielle.
So did my coworker. She's like, yeah, I used to be a notary, but I can't help you now. And I was like, why is everybody I know used to be a notary?
I don't know.
Stupid.
Well, anyway, sorry. I can't help you, Danielle. Should have asked.
Should have asked, hey, is your mom a notary by chance for no reason whatsoever?
Look, you never know, Danielle. If you ever ask, you'll never know.
It's fine. The library has free notary services.
For notary. Frotery.
Library notary. Notaberry.
Rotary.
Okay, look, we need to end. Cut.
This book has ruined my brain. All right, well, until next time, everyone, don't get kidnapped by accident, or don't accidentally kidnap somebody. That's a better one. Don't accidentally kidnap anyone.
Don't, in a haze of cult-induced, hysteria, kidnap somebody and bring them back to your parents, pretend that they're yours.
And then abandon them immediately, kidnap them for all 12 hours.
Perfect.
All right, well, until then, bye.
Take care, everybody. I'm still holding out hope that whole nonsense
is nonsense. Like, that they're all wrong about them being kidnapped by an accident.
They're almost certainly not wrong about Hannah kidnapping
I know,
her.
but I can have hope, Danielle. Let me have hope.
I'll let you have hope until I do book 2. Maybe that's what I'll do after the next Hyperion episode.
Perfect.